taking paintbrush to canvas and things like that become kind of like the Amish furniture makers of the future in terms of
Right.
actually applying that level of quality, I suppose. I don't know if one wants to use those different types of words in terms of that because of, I don't know, I suppose one putting hours into digitally creating art with the help of AI versus, isn't exactly perhaps the equivalent of the factory made furniture, but those sorts of ideas kind of apply. And certainly whenever we have somebody like let's see here, I'll check to make sure I get the name, Jason Allen, who New York Times write up about his AI work that won at the Colorado State Fair. His AI artwork had won there, and so he put hours of effort into it. It's unlike me who whips something up in Stable Diffusion or DALL-E and posts it to social media and calls it good. Those sorts of things are definitely worth considering as well. And so I think those are interesting.
For sure. But I mean, to me, that's always been the question of art, right? Does knowing who the artist is make the painting or the picture more marketable, more valuable, more beautiful, right? I mean, you go back and you see the forgeries of Vermeer by Van Meegeren, right? And then if it was painted by Vermeer, it's worth $1 million. But if it was painted by Meegeren, it's worth $100. I mean, so if it's made by AI and you like the picture, is it worth less, or is it less valuable or less artistic? I mean, the picture you mentioned, I love. I think that is a really cool picture, and I like looking at it. And if I saw that first, right, and I like it, and I'm compelled by the image, and then I find out that it was made by a computer, or it was made by a child, or it was made by Picasso, should that influence whether I like it or not? It's like, to me, art is something that I like. I don't, in a lot of ways, I don't care who makes it.
Dr. Roger Firestone has taught more people to lead in the creative process than anyone else in the world. He's been called the gold standard, and his presented programs to over 600 organizations nationally and internationally. And he is the associate professor, senior faculty at the Center for Applied Imagination at SUNY Buffalo State, and the president of Innovation Resources, Inc. And he's written 6 books, and the latest of which is Create in a Flash, A Leader's Recipe for Breakthrough Innovation. Roger, how are you doing today?
Clayton, I'm doing great. I'm doing just great. It's great to be with you and great to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you here, and it's an exciting topic. And I think it is a word that we use in common parlance quite a bit, but I don't know that it's a word that we think a whole lot about. A word that we stop to dig into the nooks and crannies of it. And so, as we discussed a little bit before the program, I found that this as something that I wanted to create content, videos, podcasts about. Creativity became the niche that really interested me, because it was the center, the thing that got me interested in all these other different areas. It's like, if you think about creativity in the arts, or creativity as an entrepreneur, or inventing, all of those different things, the central reason that I gravitate towards those different things was creativity. And so finding that is the thing that I wanted to begin to investigate and hopefully create a little bit of a brand around. Well, that was a big revelation for me. So for you, what was it that led you to this area? What got you interested in this area?
Well, here's a long story. So I grew up in Colorado, and you're in Missouri. I grew up in Colorado, not too far away from you. And as I was growing up, I learned to play. I played piano. My mom had me. I grew up on a farm in Colorado, and I played piano for years. I couldn't stand it after a while, right? And that was until I was about 14 years old. And a minister at our church gave me this little 4-string steel guitar that was held together with Scotch tape and half full of sand because it had been at campfires and stuff. And he thought I might be interested in playing it. Well, I picked up this guitar, and my parents didn't see me for the next 3 months because I was in my room in the basement practicing. And so I was fortunate enough to start teaching guitar, and I started my career at the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, Colorado, and I thought I was going to be a music major, a guitar major. And I was also teaching students at the time, and I essentially put myself through college teaching guitar. And one of the things that I found, I was finishing, I think, between my freshman and sophomore year, is that my students were getting bored with their early songs. And somehow I thought if I could get them to get more creative, they'd enjoy their music more. So I started reading about creativity, and one place and two names kept coming up consistently in the literature. And the two names were Dr. Sidney J. Parnes and Dr. Ruth Noller. And this place that time was called the Interdisciplinary Center for Creativity Studies at Buffalo State College in Buffalo, New York. Well, in April of 1977, I got the courage to call the center, and I'm at my parents' house at that time. I'm downstairs, and I dial the phone on the wall. Okay, dial it, okay? And I get the secretary on the phone, and she said, and I explained to her my interest, and she said, well, Dr. Parnes is here. Would you like to talk to him? Now, Clayton, I'd never met an author in my life. I was 21 years old at the time, and all the authors that I met I thought were dead, all right? I thought you wrote a book and you died, right? And so here I am. I'm going to meet this rock star, this fellow that I've read about, his books that I have, and all this stuff. So I had this conversation with him. He tells me about this Creative Problem Solving Institute that's a week-long conference.